Hey guys, it's Landon with RH. This is going to be the first video where I show you how we're cleaning up a little site topo. This is for an ADU in the Bay Area. We don't typically do this type of work, but this is for a client that we have a good relationship with, a long-term relationship. Their survey manager is a good friend of ours, and they're super busy, and they know this is too small for us typically, but they said, hey, can you guys help us out? We're in a jam. And we're like, yeah, we'll help out. We'll help you out. So we're doing this little topo for them. It's actually kind of nice because we don't do a ton of topographic mapping on a small scale like this at my shop, so it's good practice for my, it's been a good learning opportunity for my team. James in my office was working on this a little bit. It was his very first topo like this. So he's been learning a lot. He has a lot of questions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to record some of my cleanup. I'm just trying to get this thing over the finish line this weekend so we can get it back to the client Monday, which will be tomorrow. And James did quite a bit of this. He did quite a bit on the line work. But I needed to clean the line work up, and then I needed to work on what we call the topo anno drawing, and then get this do some spot elevations, get this thing all put together. So the line work was almost complete. Let me just briefly go over. This is the backyard. Let me just briefly go over what I cleaned up here. So this was a circle fire pit, so I fixed that. We had it as a polygon. I straightened up this. This is concrete, a concrete deck and a little wood deck, and I went ahead and straightened that line work up so it aligned with the building shots. It's just the way the shots are taken, the lines will cross. I did the same thing here with this concrete area. I made it flush with the building envelope. Same thing with these steps. These steps were a little wonky. I went ahead and cleaned those up a little bit. You can see there's still a little bit of a, it probably does not do that. If I explode that, what I probably want to do is, and this just has to do with the way the shots are taken. So what I probably want to do on something like this, and I have photos so I can see what's going on here. So this is just some error in where they're taking the shots. So you see, I just drew a perpendicular line. That's really perpendicular. It doesn't really angle in like that. So then what I can do is I can run the fillet command with a radius of 0. And we can fillet that. So that's where it really goes. Oop. I got the other concrete line under there. And so you can see that's still super wonky, which means it's probably this line is off. So what you can do is you can just take a distance here. Let's do it from here. Just see that perpendicular distance is 0.9 probably. So we can say let's offset 0.9, and that'll just give us an idea, like, all right, so that shot, they probably just pulled it back from the edge a little bit. Whoop. And we'll have the points in here so they'll be able to see those. But that looks a little better. So just doing a little bit of cleanup like that. And then I wanted to show you, here's an area where we have another example. This is a retaining wall that comes with some steps, and it's got a little jut out here. But the concrete's flush. Like, this is not what it does. And you can see these are just, James didn't do anything wrong here necessarily. It's just these are, it's not this wonky. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just draw a line there, and then I'll make it just a different color so I can see it. By the way, James did a great job. This has all been layered properly. And I'm just going to pull these over to the line because I know this is a straight edge. Okay. They're not really this wonky. This is just where the crews took the shots. There's a little bit of error. So we'll clean that up because that's what it really looks like. I'm going to do the same thing over here. Just straighten this out. And then you guys will see we'll come in and fix that a little bit. So this is just some line work cleanup. You got to remember the points that you get, the shots you get from the field crew, they're going to be off a little. It's just the nature of how they're shooting the topo. And so we wouldn't have this problem if they'd have scanned this. And it's okay. You don't always scan stuff. You don't have a scanner. But we wouldn't see as much of this if we had scanned it. This is because they're fitting a rod with a prism. They're trying to fit a rod with a prism up against all this. Now this concrete pad here is actually pretty close to flush. But what I'm going to do, James left a little gap there, and that's okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just square this up a little bit. Okay, and I'm going to pull it in a little closer because there's not a gap like that. There's not a large gap like that. And then actually I can see this is a boundary between some pavers, concrete and pavers. So I'm actually gonna pull this in right here, and I'm gonna and there's a little bit of a discrepancy here. So this building line's actually pretty close to being flush with this brick. So we probably just had a little bit of an error on the building line here. So I'm gonna pull this out. Okay, and that's what it actually looks like. This is pavers over here. And again, they're going to have the points. If they're not sure, they can look at the actual points, but we're just kind of truing this up, squaring it up a little bit. I think that was about it. I added some line work over here in the corner for this vault that we were missing. I think the line work's about done. I did notice that this shape, okay, building deck, that's good. That's a wood deck. You know what? I didn't hatch that, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add some hatch here real quick. No, I messed it up. Let me try that again, guys. Sorry. We'll add some hatch that we copy over. Okay, so where's my scale? Okay, they don't have a wood hatch in their legend, so we're gonna just paste this over. This is our ano. So we put our hatch. We typically separate hatch out, so I'll separate that hatch out. We keep that separate. Okay, so I think the line work drawing's done now. So I'm going to go ahead and actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a purge. So we'll purge this. We'll run it a couple times just to make sure we have everything. Then we'll zoom extents. Okay, I don't need this in here. Zoom extents. We'll save it. Okay, so line work's done. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start working on this ano drawing. I'm actually going to W block this out and make it my hatch drawing. I'll do that in a minute. I'll save that out as my hatch. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and work on this boundary. I'm sorry, this topo ano. And I'm going to add the trees. We need trees. There's some concrete pillars. I'm going to add some hatch for the building. I think that's mostly it for the symbols, the block symbols. Then the last thing to do is what we call the feature labels, and that's going to take a little bit of time. But I'll show you guys. I won't make you watch all that, but I'll show you some of that. So let me go ahead and I'm going to get that hatch W blocked out. Then I'll add the building hatch. I'll W block out the hatch so we have the hatch in its own drawing. Then I'll place the blocks. I'll do a video, show you guys how the blocks look, and then I'll go through some of the feature labeling with you guys.